So yesterday we were doing octaves, and today I'd like to just do a quick extension of that, going up to the next harmonic, just as a way of warming up before anything else. What else are we doing? We're doing some scales, and we're also doing a little bit on the Hue Fantaisie, this piece. Because I got a request from Lindsay to work a little bit on some of the tricky coordination stuff. So if you play the Hue Fantaisie and you've got it nearby, you could grab it, or you could watch it back and follow along when you have time with the music. Okay, and we're also going to do some scales creatively, just to get the fingers and the breath working together. Okay, so the first thing before all that is just another release of stress, and because we all feel stressed, right, this sort of time. So often the stress gets manifested in the shoulders. So just to release that, we're going to purposefully hunch our shoulders and then just let them drop. And so if you can breathe out as you go up, and then breathe in when you're bringing your shoulders down, because often we'll breathe in like this, and so this will encourage us to do the opposite. So we're going to breathe out and raise our shoulders. Ready? So let's do 4 beats on each. Sorry, wrong way around. I'll get it right. So let's breathe in first. And then breathing out. Breathe in. Breathing out again, raise the shoulders. And then breathe in. That's it. And then just do a little roll of the shoulders, just to get those softer. You can do it with your arms here as well, just like a whole sort of stretch of the whole shoulder blade area, and then go the other way. Just noticed that my jump is a bit dirty, sorry. Okay, there we go. So loosen up the shoulders there, and let's get into some harmonics. So we're going to start on a G, a low G. And so we did octave, so that's the second harmonic. The octave higher is your second harmonic. And then you can keep the finger the same, and you will get, if you keep blowing faster and directing the air up, you'll get the third one. Okay, so we're going to do it just normally for the start, and then we're going to do sing and play afterwards. So it's going to be G, 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 the D up there, and then we're going to sing and play the same thing, and then we're going to move down to F sharp. So we'll have an F sharp, and it will sound like a C sharp, and then we'll sing and play those as well. Okay, so I'll just show you what I'm going to do first, and then we'll do it together on a G. Okay, so that's basically it. There's a repetition, but with singing and playing. And doesn't matter what you sing, doesn't matter how you sound like when you sing. I watched back yesterday when I was singing Over the Rainbow, and it sounded terrible. So I do apologize for my awful singing, but it doesn't matter because we're all in our own homes, and no one's listening. Except people are listening to me because it's on the internet. But never mind. It doesn't matter. That's the key message. So number 1, we're going to play the 3 harmonics, keeping the airspeed faster as we go up, keep lifting with the jaw, and then sing and play the harmonics. Let's go. So we'll start on a G and chromatically just go down. C. Okay, so it's quite hard with the singing and playing and to get the third harmonic. Sometimes it wants to go up to the second one, the next one, even the next octave. So you've got to find that sort of middle ground. It's especially hard when you're doing C. So that was quite quick, but obviously take your time when you're doing that on your own, so that you're not rushing through those. But that's quite a nice sort of warm up for getting the registers all lined up. What I'd like to do now, though, is to try the singing and playing up to the third harmonic and then switching to the real fingering. So when we start with G, your third harmonic is going to be a sounding D at the top. And so we'll switch to the real fingering without changing how we're blowing at all. And see if you can match the sound in terms of pitch and in terms of the depth of sound. When we have that harmonic, we can really feel the sort of lower partials of the sound and real depth of sound. And so if you can get that with your normal fingering, that would be great. Okay, so let's try that. So we're going to sing and play 1, 2, 3, and then just play straight after that third one, but with the real fingering. Got it? Okay, so let's try from G again. Let's just do that again. 1, 2. Okay, let's go to F sharp. One more time. E. And one more, just E flat. Okay, so that, oh, hello. So that is a really good way to match the pitch. It's really good when you've got middle notes, middle register notes, to find out if they're actually in tune. One example of this, when we have for Hue Fantaisie, you've got it starts on a B. So you can compare whether those are the same, and that sort of sets you up, and you can practice it in lots of different dynamics. But just for now, just warming up, let's just do a nice mezzo forte. So singing and playing with harmonics is really like perfect warming up material. So have a go with that. If you've just joined, maybe re-watch this when it's finished, and you'll see what I was talking about. Okay, so we're going to move on now to some scale bits and bobs. So the scales that we can do are Taffanel and Gobert, just to keep it very simple. Number 1, so just 5-note patterns. And how I like to practice these are, firstly, for breathing. So we can do about 4 of those patterns before breathing. And when you do want to breathe, try not to force the air in like a because you want to get on to the next one quicker. Try to give yourself 4 seconds between each time you play and make sure that the breath is silent. So we don't want any noise. Noise just indicates that there's a blockage or constriction of the airways, force, too much tension. So we just want to avoid that in your practice, and that will set you up really well for when you perform under stress. Okay, so if I just show you what I mean. So we start on a G again, and we'll just do 4 5-note patterns. So something like that. So you just take as much time as you need before going on to the next system of scales. Okay, so if everybody knows Tafnel and Gober, can we just try starting on a G, and we'll just do a few of those with really good breathing. So take 4 seconds after landing on the last G, and then we'll go to the next system down. Okay. One more, so just on A major. Good. Okay, so you can try that with the breathing. So that was giving yourself 4 beats, and you can just make that gap slightly less. You could start trying with 3, then 2, but always make the breath very quiet, preferably silent, just to allow the air in and not to force it in. Okay, so can we just try from G major again? And we'll just do the G major one and not go on to any other ones, and repeat back to G major, just so it's easier. And let's try and do it with 2 beats breath. And if you notice that you make a noise when you breathe, just stop. Don't use that breath because it's not going to last you a long time, and it's going to make things tight. So just let that one go and come back in for the next one. Okay, so always silent. Let's try 2 beats breath. Okay, good. So yeah, the other thing I like to do with scales is try to be a little bit creative, and relate it in some way to a piece of music that you're working on. So today's piece is going to be the Hue Fantaisie, and the good thing about one of the great things about this piece is that there's so many different characters throughout. At the beginning, it's quite dramatic. Then you have a nice romantic, soft melody. Then you've got an exciting tre vive section. So there's lots of different characters which you could practice your scales with. So if we were to go for the dramatic one, what would you think of? Maybe loud, fast. So let's just try G major, the full scale this time, up to the top G and back down to G, but fast and loud. Let's try that one. Okay, let's just do that one more time, very fast and dramatic. Just go at your own pace though. Good, and then the nice melody that has this lilting rhythm. Da-dee-da-dum, ba-da-dee-da-dee-da-dum. So let's have a sort of dee-dee-dee-dee-dum, a nice sort of lilting rhythm, G major. Wow. Okay, and then the sort of quirky vive section, can we do it in a dotted rhythm? Because it's a dotted rhythm there. Yum, ba-dum, ba-dum. And I will talk about how to practice that in a little bit, but just to get into the character of it, let's do that same scale with a nice crisp dotted rhythm. Good, one more time. You can pick whatever dynamic you like. Good, and just as you're doing your scales, I just noticed myself doing it, and we're all guilty of it, I think, is just with the posture and not coming down that way or putting your head forward. Try to keep your length that I talked about earlier. So we're all guilty of it, including myself. So just, yeah, something to be aware of. So it's a good idea to just maybe record yourself, watch it back, or look in the mirror. Always a good teacher, the old mirror. Okay, so looking at this tricky little section in the piece itself, you might see it in other pieces as well. I don't know if you can see it, about this stuff. Dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. So basically, I would suggest using a very sort of forward articulation, even with the tongue slightly out in front of the teeth. So you're almost going ta, ta, like that. So that really cleans up the quick sort of grace note. You also get it in Goddard Suite, the yum, 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 the little valse. So yeah, just try, let's go, because it starts on an F, let's try it on an F major scale. And between each one, just make a break and think before you go on to the next one. So dum, da-dum, di-dum. Okay, so it's going to slur over dum, da-ra, da-ra. And if you aim a little bit more for the next note, so that the quick note gets you there. It's not dum, da-ra, da-ra, so not putting the stress on the quick note, but flowing through with the airstream just towards the next big note, okay? So something like okay, so let's just try that all together. F major scale, 2 octaves coming down as well. Yeah, good. Just be careful as you're doing that. I could feel sometimes that my jaw wanted to tense up because I was a bit anxious, and then the breath gets a little bit stuck in its way. So between each one, if you can really release the sound and the airstream, and then the breath, just let it come back all the time. Keep free of jaw tension. Just really like loose here. So a loose jaw, remember, it's not loose in the embouchure. We want that focused air, especially for something like this where the sound needs to be quite projecting and dark, almost oboe quality. So yeah, lips focused, jaw soft, free breath, and very light in the fingers. Okay, so let's just do it once, all slurred, holding the notes, and then we'll try it again disjointed. Okay, so let's try it da, 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 like that. Good, so the fingers never feel stressed. Let's now make the gap between each one. Keep that sense of freedom and loose jaw. Let's try that again. So for me, the tongue's going forward before I start the quick note, and then it sort of retreats back as I blow through to the next note. So very slowly it would be. Okay, so the air has to come down as well, so the next note's not sharp. This is very detailed, and if you don't know the Hue Fantaisie, apologies if it's a little bit not interesting, but this sort of stuff, you have it in grace notes and in other music as well, so it can be useful. So with the Hue Fantaisie piece itself, try to aim for, at this section, a sound which is not spread out at all, and there's real focus and harmonic content. So we want something that's very projecting, and an oboe can do that very easily. So if you think of an oboe sound as you're playing this, it might also help. Your body might just help with that, with the image of an oboe sound. So with the first little bit, we have F, G flat, A, B flat, B natural. So it's like this. Okay, so I would just practice the main notes first, getting a good quality on those. And then do it with the little grace notes before. Remembering with the tongue forward as well. And then you just gradually speed it up. Something like that. Okay, so that's how I would practice that. I hope that helps. And if you have any requests for other things that you'd like help with, people have been asking about second octave intonation, which we talked about a little bit with the harmonics. But anything else that you'd like help with, just comment below. Subscribe to the Just Flutes YouTube page and Facebook and all of that, and you'll be able to keep following along. So I'll see you on Monday at 2 o'clock. Thanks.